I'm here, ladies and gentlemen, because some of the best times of my life have been spent on stage and off stage in off-West End theatres. In them, I played Peter Lorre, the Aga Khan, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the Roman poet Juvenal, Margaret Thatcher, Princess Anne, and a horse, naked. I've been an angry, unemployed steel worker, a French transvestite, an Afrikaans journalist obsessed by phrenology. I've played a sweet boy who fell in love with another sweet boy and they lived unhappily ever after. I played several Chinese peasants and an ichondroplastic dwarf. Where else would I be allowed to do any of that but off West End? I've directed plays about Freud and Jung and Reich in heaven, about incestuous Argentinian llama-fancying conjurers, and A Day in the Life of Harold Nicholson, only in the off West End. No, you've all done similar things, or worse, or much, much better. But we belong to a great tradition, we off-West Enders. 3 years ago, I spoke a little bit about history, about the history of that form of theatre which has sometimes been called alternative theatre, independent theatre, other theatre, fringe theatre, radical theatre, poor theatre. Often this theatre came about in response to censorship, but also, and most frequently, out of a desire to create something new, something out of the mainstream of taste, to tap new energies, to break new orthodoxies. And every successful theatre, however dynamic, however radical and inspired in its principles, creates its own orthodoxies, its own norms, its own certainties, which need constantly to be unsettled, challenged, and rejected. And often, this theatre has come out of the pressing need simply to be heard, to be seen. Individual artists, writers, actors, directors, designers, not represented in the mainstream, all having something new to show us, something urgent to communicate, but also whole sections of the community, people whose lives are unrepresented, people from different cultures, races, ethnicities, religions, different sexualities, gay people, black people, women, for goodness sake, who for so long were thought of. All demanding a stage on which to strut their stuff, to tell it like it is, to bring to birth a new beauty, a beauty which may at first seem nothing but an ugliness, a gratuitous ugliness, but which in time may become an image of loveliness. It's a theatre which comes out of people making their own destiny, people seeking the initiative, harnessing their passion and their need and their skill and their sheer anarchic joy in making art. Some of it, of course, is dreadful. Some of it is... Of course. Some of it... I mean, mea culpa. Some of it is interesting, some of it is promising, but some of it is so goddamn beautiful, so brave and so new that it changes your life. And you saw it here first. You, the audience, were there as part of it. It was the way it was because you were there, because of whatever you brought to that basement, that little black box over a pub, that warehouse, that train depot, that abandoned block of flats. And soon, with amazing speed, what you saw, or what you made happen there, in your black box, in your pub, in your warehouse, changes the life of the theatre. And with equally astounding speed, it can change the life of the real world, changing attitudes, understanding. I talked about all of this on that occasion, and I also talked about the extraordinary people who've created the work, the companies, the organizations, which have made all these things possible. And I was struck then, and I'm struck again, by how often it's to women that we've looked in the British theatre for our organizations and for our innovations and for the courage to create the new. People whose names are very often forgotten now, Lillian Bayliss and Emma Cons, who created the Old Vic, Ninette de Valois, who created the Royal Ballet, Marie Rambert, who created avant-garde dance in England, Joan Littlewood, Yvonne Brewster, Verity Bargate, Lena Ashwell, Thelma Holt. It goes on and on and on. All these visionary women, cussed, determined, ever so slightly deranged. Thank God for them all. And among their number is, of course, Sophie Mason. Sophie and I met on the barricades at the Royal Opera House when she was mounting a campaign to stop whatever latest insane government initiative was trying to cut back the chorus or replace the orchestra with a piano or whatever. And Sophie is the one who had that brilliant and simple and inspired idea, which is why we're all here at all tonight. And the idea was simply put the word about. Let people know what's going on. This astonishing variety of brilliant and imaginative and daring and courageous work going on all over this city,